Welcome into Judd's Hockey Show, a post-game edition. Wild falls to 0-3. The only good news in tonight's game is at least they didn't give up 7 goals. They gave up 6 and a 6-3 loss to the Colorado Avalanche. Third consecutive home defeat. Declan, I think we should start here. As much as Dean Evason might try and defend this or twist it towards a team thing, I think concern one is just crystal clear. It's in goal. Marc-Andre Fleury starts the first 2 games, is lifted after the first period, gave up 4 goals against the Kings on Saturday night. Philip Gustafsson, who was brought in from Ottawa in the Cam Talbot trade, replaces him, gives up 3 goals, and then tonight gives up 5 of the 6 goals. There's an empty net goal including, I think, about 2 or 3 really questionable goals. It's 3 games. It's a long year. I get that. But at some point in time here soon, the Wild certainly did enough tonight to win against a good team at home, but this is the type of game that you should win. And goaltending, to me right now, is 3 games in a legitimate concern that we have to address.
Yeah, it's not a sound the alarm completely situation, but it's definitely, I think, cause for panic with just how poorly the goaltending has been, whether it's been a Marc-Andre Fleury through the first 2 games or Gustafsson in tonight's performance. I don't think Gustafsson played in a position to lose the Wild the game necessarily, but he certainly didn't help them bail them out with a win. And when you're 0-2 and you're allowing a lot of goals, you'd like to see your goaltending kind of bail you out here and there, and we've yet to even see something remotely close to that. This team is the only team in the NHL that hasn't played with a lead yet this season.
Yep.
They have showed resiliency at battling back. They have showed moments where they've been able to get there, and their power play's been successful. Matt Boldy's been good. There's actually been some bright spots, but honestly, a lot of those positives are all for naught because their goaltending and their defensive zone play has just been so atrocious that it has them in an 0-3 hole and in a tough spot to start the season.
Yeah, and tonight, the goal that got me, and there were a few that I thought were questionable goals, but the goal that you absolutely can't afford is in the second period, the dump in by McKinnon. The defensemen do their job and try and take their man, and of course assume that Gustafsson is going to cover the puck or play the puck. And it takes a weird bounce, but guess what? It's National Hockey League. There's weird bounces. And instead of covering the puck, he muffs it, basically. Mikko Rantanen sneaks in there and scores. And the problem is this, in my opinion, with the goaltending so far. The glasses are off now. The problem is very simple. It's deflating. Saturday night, how many times did they come back, the Wild, from one, they're down 2. Now they're down 1. Now they're down 2 again. Now it's down 1. And they eventually come back and tie that game at 6-6. Okay, it's a weird game, but that's the type of game that you can then steal. And what happens? The Kings inevitably come down and score. And yes, the defensive coverage on Saturday was awful. Tonight I thought it improved. But my God, you need your goaltenders to make saves. Like, they need to make some big saves. And in the case of the goal that we saw by Rantanen, I mean, you can't muff that puck. I know it's difficult, but you can't. And that's the type of thing that is just a deflator. And so, yes, there's a lot of things that we can talk about that this team is not doing well. They're playing like they played a long playoff stretch, like they look tired at times.
Yep.
And as Evason said in his postgame, they're doing some brain-dead stuff that ordinarily happens perhaps when you have the big chalice to celebrate with, not a first-round exit. I am baffled at some of this stuff, but goaltending to me Thursday night, I think I put Fleury back in goal. And, I mean, you've got to get him right quickly, because if you don't, this is going to continue to spiral. You've got to get more from your goaltender.
It's buffoonery. I think Dean in the postgame used the word brain dead from top to bottom, too, from the coaching staff to the players to, self-awareness in your own zones. I mean, taking a too many men penalty when you have a delayed penalty is almost impossible to do.
I don't think I've seen it before.
I haven't seen it.
Recall.
I haven't seen it happen in person before. And there was no argument from Dean. There was no we got screwed in that situation. That was a complete sabotage, shoot yourself in the foot area. On Fleury, you have to go back to him immediately. You have to get him right. He's the veteran goalie. He's the Vezina winner. He's one of the most decorated goalies of all time. So it's not sticking with Gustafsson, and the plan was for Fleury to be the guy. So you have to get Fleury right here. And the comparison I gave you and Mackie about a few weeks ago and a month ago when we were previewing this season was, goaltending is very similar to putting in golf. And to be honest, there's been a lot of good, if you want to relate this entire Wild season to a golf game, there's been a lot of positives in your game. Well, if you can't hit your putts, it's going to be a long day on the course. And that's literally been the case. Special teams has been great. Your superstar players in Kaprizov and Matthew Boldy have showed up. But your goaltending has been the sole reason, I should say the biggest chunk of the reason why you are 0-3 on the season, and it's basically it's do or die now. I mean, I know Dean is preaching this that, hey, this is happening early, you can still rebound, it's not happening at game,
Right.
65 or 40 in the season.
Right.
But it's not exactly the best spot to be in when you're trying to set the tone and you're trying to come off a very big 114-point season, and there's high expectations, and you start 0-3 like this, yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern.
Yeah, and at some point in time, you have to start to get points. So like, yeah, that's always the tough thing when a team gets off to a bad start and you still think that they're a pretty competent or good team, is like, yes, it's smart to preach, don't panic. But at some point in time, a bad start becomes a lengthy thing, and then you can't just dismiss it. But yeah, I think the goaltending has to get right. The defensive coverage has to get right. This team is far too reliant on being smart to play like this. Like they're playing like they made a playoff run. They are playing like they were on the lake with the Stanley Cup all summer long, enjoying Surly Furiouses.
I do like a Surly Furious, though.
I do too, but at some point in time, you got to pull that back and say, gentlemen, we were eliminated in the first round, and if we don't get this right fairly quickly, it's going to become a problem. And tonight's too bad. So I thought the Rangers game, they just flat out didn't play well.
Right.
Like they just stunk.
Yep.
The Kings game, they scored a lot of goals, but were just hugely irresponsible, like through the neutral zone in their zone. Tonight, I really thought that they could win. I mean, they played well enough to win. And again, if your goaltender gives you a few good saves, guess what? You're playing with a lead. Now you're not chasing a game. And so tonight, to me, of the three games, is the most disappointing, because this is one where the defending Stanley Cup champion came into your building, and you really did have a chance to win, and you still couldn't win.
Dean used the word anxiety when this is starting to set in, when you kind of are shipwrecking yourself and you're making a lot of those brain dead decisions that he said. That comes down to an anxiety area, and so now when you're not playing with the lead and you're pressing a little bit because you got off to a slow start and things aren't going your way and you're taking boneheaded penalties where you're shooting yourself in the foot, you start walking on eggshells a little bit. It's kind of like when you get in trouble as a kid and you keep doing the same damn thing and you're trying to be better, but then your other older brother still gets you into trouble. Maybe I'm just speaking from past family experience here.
Yeah, I didn't have one, so.
But it
I had
also,
a sister, but not.
It also kind of reminds me of how the Wild are playing, that you kind of have this monkey on your back, and for whatever reason, you are throwing the monkey away. You're trying to do it, but then there's something about yourself that is sabotaging your own self.
Well, yeah. And you're right, though. I mean, you cannot have. You could tell Dean wanted to say a lot more, but he wasn't going to. You can't have an extra guy jump on the ice when you're about to get a penalty in a game that I believe at the time you're down by 1 goal.
Yep.
Like, you can't have that. That can't happen. I don't think I've seen it happen. So, yeah, that's the type of thing where I'm sure internally he's furious, and he should be. He's not going to talk about who screwed up or why they screwed up or blah, blah, blah. Because when he said it's always coaching, it was very clear that he was basically taking the sword and just stabbing himself. Like, yeah, okay, I got to take the fall for this. And I think goaltending, too. I mean, there's no way that he's going to watch that film and privately say, you know what, Gustafsson's not at fault for a lot of these goals.
Right.
So, like, there's a lot going on here that he's going to do his best to deflect or defend his team. Let's talk about the lines, because the lines got mixed up.
Yeah.
First line, your thoughts, Tyson Jost playing between Zuccarello and Kaprizov, with Ryan Hartman demoted, I guess, to the right wing on the Greenway line with Foligno, who I thought played really well tonight.
Yeah, it was interesting that Tyson Jost got the call up there, and maybe that was to try to get Hartman going, I guess. I actually like Jost a lot more as a winger than I do as a center. He was the 10th overall pick. I told you that I kind of had high expectations for him this season, just because he now gets an opportunity with Kevin Fiala gone and less being log-jammed, and him getting out of that fourth-line role. And then he has a really good preseason. So I understood why he gets a promotion and gets a look there. But in general, I was a little surprised they gave him the run at center. I will be actually a little surprised if he's still there, I think, on Thursday night.
Next team, maybe, you think?
Yeah.
Playing his old club?
They could potentially try to, they're trying to get him sparked to play Colorado, and I get that. He did a great piece and sits down with Michael Russo of The Athletic and talked all about that his departure from Colorado is really hard on him. So I completely understand the self-motivation parts there too. I don't want to say it doesn't matter who plays between Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello, but it's clear that their chemistry right now is still off the charts good. We're seeing that on paper from last season. We're seeing that play out already this year. So you have to find someone that's really solid there in the middle that isn't a complete liability. And for whatever reason, I don't know what's up with Ryan Hartman's game, but just another really poor performance.
Uneven?
Turnovers.
He made one in the neutral zone in the second period. That was just a lazy, he's making dumb plays.
Yeah.
And ordinarily, the one thing that I always thought is he's a really smart, responsible player. He also had some chances tonight, but he is off to a awful start. It's terrible. I'm with you. I don't think Jost is, if he's a center, he ain't a top line guy. I thought among the forwards, Foligno played well.
Yep, he had a good game.
Gaudreau had an unbelievable chance, which could have tied the score right before Colorado scored its fifth goal, which I think he tried to get too cute.
Yeah.
I think Dean likes the fact that Gaudreau gives him consistency, and he's playing the wing now, so it's not as now. What was intriguing about that was on Saturday night when they took Hartman off that top line, they actually moved Gaudreau to the first line center. But defensively, here's some good news. I believe tonight that we saw the first time Calen Addison really ran the power play. He's been there for the first two games. Tonight, I think someone said, Calen, you are on the first power play to shoot the puck. X scored a tip-in on a power play goal that he shot on, and I thought tonight was the first time that I really saw him take control as the quarterback of that power play, and it looked good. Yeah,
I mean, from the positive in this game, I think he was one of them, and this power play still is clicking. It was 4 for 10 coming in the day, a couple more power play goals, at least one more today, and Calen Addison was the guy behind there, and look, we were kind of trying to figure out if that dude could even make the roster again because he was kind of log jammed with a lot of good blue liners on this team, but he's been the quarterback, the quote-unquote quarterback on that power play, and his vision, his ability to pass the puck is pretty damn good. You saw why Bill Guerin traded for this guy now almost 4 years ago, because once he got an opportunity to play at the NHL level, you knew that his play could translate onto the power play. And man, he's a special kid. I mean, he's been one of the ones through 3 games that you can really look at and say, man, he's actually performing. He's living up to his expectation. There's no pressing there. He's been a damn good player for them on the power play.
And he belongs here now. That's the nice thing. I think it's very clear cut that this kid belongs here now. And now here's the question: once he gets to 1,000 games, does Alex Goligoski belong here? Because you know what, I've been underwhelmed by his start, and he's what his game, if and when he plays, and I'm sure he will Thursday against Vancouver, will be the milestone game 1,000, right? To your point about that, I wonder if they start to scratch him if John Merrill comes back. The other one to me tonight, which it was crystal clear that he didn't really play well, Matt Dumba's off to a funky start. Now, he did have, I think he had 4 shots on goal on Saturday.
Yeah.
-2 tonight. Now, a lot of guys were, so that's not, but I mean, he had one opportunity, I think, in the high slot to get off a Dumba bomb, which we've been saying, And I don't know if he toe picked or what, but he never got the shot off. You just need more here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Addison and Middleton have looked really well. Spurgeon a little up and down too. Just I don't know if it's just getting his legs right, just being in the right areas too. But Dumba, I think that's where you kind of take the good with the bad sometimes. Sometimes he has these off nights where he isn't shipwrecking the game by any means, but there's more that he could certainly give. And that's why when you see someone like Calen Addison, who's this offensive moving defenseman, who obviously Cal McCarr is the gold standard that you saw in Colorado tonight, but you see that type of new defenseman in the NHL, and you like to see guys like Matt Dumba, who have now played 500-plus games, that you would think that they could be able to be the guys that can also do that like Cal McCarr. And Calen Addison was good, but I think you need a little bit more still from the defensive blue line as a whole too.
Absolutely. Eriksson Ek, a goal tonight on the tip-in that we talked about, 6 shots. I think in 2 of the 3 games he's looked really good too. So and I mean he's still in this game ideally matched up against McKinnon's line as well. So I actually thought that line played well. I want to get to the guy that didn't play though, because this one I just don't get. And we've talked about it on Mackey and Judd today. But now that Marco Rossi was scratched, I'd love to know what they're really doing here, and I'd like to know if he did something wrong, if he just had a bad game, because I don't understand when I look at the center at the depth chart and who's playing. I understand Rossi's game might not be, or certainly is not where they want it yet, but I don't understand how when your team is struggling, sitting a young man who clearly has skill and is a high draft pick. This ain't, the 29th pick. This is, the 9th pick of that draft. I guess I'd really like to know the philosophy of what they're trying to get. And if they're going to scratch him, I really want him not here. I want him in Iowa. I want him playing somewhere. I don't think this helps. And this whole fourth line thing to me now makes no sense because that's the fourth line. I don't understand how he can't take Sam Steele's place. I don't get how you can't give him a shot with a top, 2 line. I just don't understand the thinking. And if it is what it appears, I don't agree with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the fourth line's barely playing. I mean, Mason Shaw, Brandon Duhaime with 6-7 minutes tonight. Marco Rossi, you'd like to think, could be someone that could slide up there. Like, if they're going to try Tyson Jost up there, who, in my opinion, is just more naturally fit as a wing, why not try your top-line guy? And they did that at the end of the preseason, right? I mean, they gave Marco Rossi an opportunity here, a golden opportunity to center that top line and see, but, hey, are you ready for this kind of opportunity? I mean, I would still try to go and find a room for him. I mean, do you put him back into the lineup now that he's like in this doghouse though?
But I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like then if they don't think he can play, then don't have him here.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
I hate this.
Yep.
I hate this. Like, what are you doing? And by the way, are you really playing well enough to bench him?
No. Yeah, he should be playing. He should be thriving.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Sam Steele a Jag?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's fine. He's just a guy, though.
But I mean, he's taking up valuable playing time. And I guess here's my question: why can't you flip-flop Steele and Rossi and move Steele to the fourth line? Like, Sam Steele seems to me to be a guy.
Yeah, just looking at even the distributions of the minutes on the line chart. So, guys like Kirill and Matt Zuccarello are playing 20-plus minutes. Joel Eriksson played 22 minutes. Marcus Foligno was able to log over 15 minutes. It's just there's a big gap in the range of their distribution of their minutes. They don't trust their fourth line right now, which is weird because I feel like last year, Brandon Duhaime was a reliable fourth liner.
Yep.
They rolled fourth lines evenly, and that doesn't mean that your fourth line was offensive octane. And I think teams are getting more and more used to rolling 4 lines. But right now, for whatever reason, Dean doesn't trust that fourth line.
It feels like, and I'll put this on Dean. It feels like the words that he used in the post-game press conference, anxiety and tight and stuff, it feels like that applies to him as much or more than the players. It's like he's saying, I can't play my fourth line, I got to get matchups, I got to win this game, Well, I mean, to me, unless I haven't seen it and he's just not good, Marco Rossi is going to give you a spark.
Yep.
He's young, he's dynamic, and I will say this for him, in the preseason games, what impressed me the most is he was way stronger than I thought. Like, he was on the puck.
Yep.
And I mean, he's not Kaprizov, but he was on the puck, and I guess unless they just say, you know what, we made a mistake here, this really confuses me because it seems almost panicked. Oh, we got to play the veterans, we got to play. I mean, again, Sam Steele, Tyson Jost goes to the first line.
Yeah.
Give me a break. That's very Gardy-like.
What did you make, too, of, we literally walked out of that press conference right onto this microphone within literally minutes. So we just got out of that interview. We came over here to jump on the YouTube channel. By the way, hit the subscribe button for Daily Minnesota Wild Entertainment. We got people hanging out in the room right now, so hit the subscribe button for Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment on this YouTube channel. What did you make of Dean, too, kind of saying that, we're going to give the guys a day off tomorrow. Relax. Don't think about it. They had this charity event yesterday that, so an external thing, some bowling thing, whatever.
Bowlers,
but tomorrow is supposed to be a do whatever the hell you want kind of day, and then come back to the rink obviously on Wednesday, be ready to work, and hopefully snap the losing streak on Thursday.
So I think it's sort of weird. And here's why. So when Dean brought up we're brain dead and we're not doing things smart, and he's obviously frustrated with the players. He's just not going to, and I don't blame him. It's certainly not time to throw your team under the bus. So I think he's being smart. But it's why I asked him the question. I'm like, are you surprised it's happening now? Like, you just started your season and you're making mistakes that look like your team is tuckered. Again, it's like they made a playoff run, which of course they did not. But I mean, it's like the team is in the dog days now, because these slumps happen. Like this slump
Yeah,
is
that's-
not like, oh my God, it never happens.
Right.
But the problem is it happens at the start of the season, and now you're sitting there with 0 points. But I don't know. I mean, Dean seems uptight to me. And so, like, this might work. It might be fine. Here's what I wonder, Dex. So, to that point, too. You know, the last 2 games, the Wild has made comebacks. And every time they're close, we get a goal against.
Yep.
And inevitably, you say in the sport, you really like the guy to stop that puck, right?
Right.
I wonder if this is just because it's so deflating to everybody. And guys aren't going to turn on goaltenders, but I wonder if this is like, okay, everyone go and clear your head and hope to God Flower comes back on Thursday and can play
Yeah.
well. Because like this does seem like a sort of a, I don't want to say desperation, but it seems like a Hail Mary idea for how to stop this.
Yeah.
Because you're playing stupid hockey. So why would you give them the day off like they're tired when they're not tired?
You need a stopper situation with Fleury on Thursday. You need a 2-1 win. You don't need to go out and the Wild's offense actually has been mostly fine this year, right? I mean, when you just look at it from the 30,000-foot view, the power play has been good. 5-on-5 they've been all right. Like they've been able to score goals. Their goaltending has been what's absolutely.
The first
killing
game was
them.
bad.
Yeah.
The last 2.
So if you go
Absolutely.
out on Thursday and win a 1-0, grind fest or a 2-1 low scoring game, I mean that's what you would like to see. You need your goaltending to just rise up and bail you out. Even we talk about these random hockey games sometimes where you get outshot and by 3-1, but your goaltender steals you a game.
Yep.
Can that be something that can happen on Thursday? That's what you need to win. And, I mean, you'll take the win however you get it on Thursday.
I agree with
But
you.
I think in the terms of getting this back on track and getting it back on a sustainable track, it's a 2-1 win where Fleury absolutely bails you out with a magnificent performance.
Or like a 7-1 win. Like,
Right,
but,
yeah.
but I mean, yes, I'm totally with you. He
Yeah.
has to come out Thursday. It's going to become so. The season's not lost. I totally get that. Okay, but I think to what you're saying and where I completely agree with your point is this: at some point in time, somebody is going to soon hit the panic button.
Yep.
Because I mean, we've talked about like this is not a new conversation. When Talbot got traded and they picked Flower, everyone sort of said, okay, that's an interesting choice.
Right.
The guy's going to be 38 in November. And so at some point soon here, like if he comes out and struggles again, because Gustafsson is
He's a backup.
He's a 2. Like
Yeah,
this is not a
he's a
1A,
backup.
1B. But if Flower struggles again on Thursday, at some point in time, pull the alarm.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's going to get concerning because it's deflating.
Yeah.
It's just deflating.
And I think that's what's more concerning. It's the fact that, hey, it's a gamble to trust a 38-year-old, whether it's a Hall of Fame or not, Marc-Andre Fleury. But you need him to be better. And the Wild are banking on the fact that he can return somewhere in the middle of the floor of last season of what was basically an average goalie to him being a Vezina guy who he was just 2 years ago with Vegas. So can you find something in the middle that's stable that isn't shipwrecking games for you?
Jen has a great question here because I think people assume the answer, and I think their assumption is not correct. What does the Wild do if the goaltenders continue to suck? She says. Here's the thing: Jasper Wallstedt, in my opinion, is not coming up anytime soon. Like if he's playing great in March and he's off the charts, okay. I still don't think he comes up probably, but anyway. Right now, I think if Fleury continues to struggle, and I mean, he's flustered, he's flummoxed. This is not just a little. I mean, in the locker room on Saturday, he was like. He talked, good for him, but he was shaken. I think you're going to have to make a trade for one. I think you're going to have to at some. I mean, you can't punt the season.
No.
Like you can't have him continue to struggle. And I guess the question then for Bill Guerin becomes, how long can you put up with that?
Yeah.
There's a difference between having a rough game and goal 4 on Saturday was a sieve. Tonight we saw a couple more just really awful goals. So like at some point in time, if this continues to go sideways, you're going to have to look. And I'm not saying that you're going to go get Terry Sawchuk or Glenn Hall, but you are going to have to look at options. And I do not think Jesper Wallstedt is a realistic option.
I would say probably by the Thanksgiving time, if things aren't fixed, then you have to. If you're in desperation
Which
mode
is
there.
soon.
Yep.
Like that's the scary thing.
Now, I don't think that Dean would call up Wallstedt either, but he also has, and I defaulted more of, he has the awareness of we're not going to put that kid in a horrible situation that we're going to ask him to be someone that he's not ready to be yet. But also, it wouldn't completely shock me if he had to do that. Because at that point, if you're that desperate for goaltending, it's hard to find someone else. Other teams are going to be knowing that you need it, so they're going to be driving up the asking price. It becomes a lot more difficult.
here's my guess. If by Thanksgiving the goaltending is still scuffling or just flat out struggling, which it might not be, but anyway, my guess is a Dubnyk type of trade.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the Dubnyk trade didn't. We weren't all
That's
like, oh
true,
my
yeah.
God, you got
Devin
Devin
Dubnyk,
Dubnyk.
yeah.
How did you peel? So like, there are guys out there.
Yep.
And that, yeah, I mean, you're not going to get Quick. You're not going to get Shesterkin. You're not going to get a great goaltender. But I think that it would be a very similar trade to where the fan base basically says who, but it's an improvement on what you've got right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not a problem.
Yeah, hopefully it isn't. But yeah, they have to get it fixed quick because I mean, most of the other things are fine here. Like yeah, is Ryan Hartman off to a rough start? Sure.
Yeah.
What are they doing with Marco Rossi? That's kind of intriguing. Kirill Kaprizov's been great. Boldy's been great. Calen Addison has been awesome. Your power play is finally where it should be with this personnel. So this literally all comes down to just very, very poor goaltending and defensive play in general.
Exactly right. All right, I'm done. You done?
I'm done too. Yeah. No, we wanted to.
Wrap
We
it
want
up.
to do something. We haven't done a live show yet, and we were hoping for an epic wild.
Well,
win,
we
and
appreciate
we didn't
folks,
get that one.
Coming into the room though.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Very nice of you to show
Appreciate
up.
you
Thank
guys
you,
hanging
folks.
out. So hit the subscribe button for daily Minnesota sports entertainment. This is Judd's Hockey Show. We want to see the Vikings hopefully win a Stanley Cup before we die. Or actually, we just
the
want to see a
Wild won
goalie.
Stanley Cup. You said the Vikings.
I said the Vikings.
The
That's always-
Vikings.
it's in
The
my-
Vikings have taken. I tweeted this out. The Vikings have taken all of the Wild's potential good fortune.
Yeah.
And stolen it from them.
True.
And that's why they are 5-1, and the Wild is 0-3.
Short-term model. We just want the Wild to have a goaltender that stops the puck. I think let's
Amen,
let's
brother.
go with that. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back soon.